We're joined by Dan McClory, president and head of China for the investment firm Boustead Company. Dan, thanks so much for talking to us. Let's start with President Trump. He made good on his pledge, but in the past and even today, you can find a lot of Republicans who supported the TPP and free trade in general. Talk to me about this break within his own party.
Well, if you want to call it a break, I think it's something we've known about for a fairly long period of time, Mike. Not only Trump, but of course Clinton and even Bernie Sanders had said, the TPP was done. And I think when we last discussed this on the show, we said it no longer stood for the Trans-Pacific Partnership, but it was Trump pulls the plug. And he's making good on campaign promises, as we've heard earlier in the show. He's also sending out a signal because, as we know, this isn't just a trade agreement. It's an agreement that has geopolitical implications as well. But I'm going to attribute it to so many pronouncements that Trump has made, and clearly this is a signed executive order that he's put out. He's setting the table for the ultimate negotiation. And he's saying it's not about mega deals, it's about one-on-one relationships that benefit both parties and that, in his words, make American manufacturing great again.
So let's go there. Abandoning the TPP, trying to renegotiate NAFTA. Will this create a vacuum? I mean, we're already hearing from the Mexican president saying he's going to look elsewhere. Isn't the danger of this that could happen? I mean, what's the upside and what's the fallout?
So, Mike, what you're alluding to is absolutely a possibility. There could very well be a vacuum. Remember, Obama put 8 years into this effort. It was the centerpiece of his pivot to Asia. And now, to make good on campaign promises, and because Trump believes this is the right direction for the U.S., it's all being pushed aside. Clearly now, the Chinese are being seen as at the forefront of trade liberalization, which is a somewhat unique position, especially on the international stage. And the alternative bloc that's been put together, RCEP, has some very strong potential allies. This is 16 nations, including not just Southeast Asia, but countries like South Korea, Japan, New Zealand, even India. So yes, there is a vacuum that's going to occur, and not just in a trade sense, but in a geopolitical sense. And I think you're seeing it filled by the Chinese with their own initiative and with their own pragmatic approach to getting deals done as well.
You talked about the Chinese. I know you do a lot of dealing with China in mind. I was at an event just a couple of weeks ago in New York. A lot of people who do business in China, the United States, they're very nervous about this president. It was before he came into office. They're very scared of a trade war. I mean, what do you see on the horizon?
Well, I think what President Trump has done is he's first and foremost gone to the affected companies inside the U.S. and he's let them know that you need to alter your practices or there's going to be consequences. And we saw that even as president-elect in putting together some one-off deals. But in fact, on Monday at the White House, he had the CEOs of Dow and Tesla, Dell Computer, Ford Motor. He called them all in. And what he said, Mike, is very interesting. He's asked them to come back to him within a 30-day period to let him know, to let Trump know what they can do in terms of international trade and relations to bring manufacturing back to the U.S. So clearly Trump has given them the punchline and the end result that he'd like to see, but he's also thrown it back to these companies. And again, this is in the context of Trump coming out with plans to reduce the corporate income tax rate from 35 to perhaps as low as 15 or 20%. Which is all very appealing at the surface to U.S. companies. So he's building support or attempting to build support within the U.S. for these policies, but he's making it very clear to international parties and our trading partners that this is going to be a new way of negotiating these agreements.
Dan McClory joining us from Irvine, California. Thanks so much for your insights.
Thanks, Mike.